I got my first job at the Daily Star. I was working as a copy girl. I was like so excited, and it was like such a big deal.
My partner at the time, we had left the East Coast. He was Jewish, I was black.
I was in a bookstore getting some books for one of my kids in the college. I remember I was bending down looking for something. And
my first week on campus as a postdoc, I was helping out with the conference. And so I was taking a bunch of professors. We were having dinner together and worked with the organizer. Said, I'll take these guys home. This was maybe about 10:30 at night. Pulled over to the parking lot on Cherry Street, just south of Speedway, so that I could hop out, ask my passengers, hey, let's figure this out. Where are we going? Let me look at your map. Okay, cool.
And then one day I came in, and this guy, he was from New York. He came in and he said, Lola, can I talk to you?
So we were invited to go to a party where I was the only man of color. There were about 40 gay white men there.
UAPD pulled a U-turn, had me put my hands up because they thought that I was trying to steal my own car.
and I heard a voice behind me say something like, well, that's a waste of a good towel.
And he says, well, I've been appointed to tell you that this is going to be your last day.
They're asking my passengers, are you okay? Are you, like they thought they were in the middle of a carjacking.
I kind of stood up and I said, excuse me, were you talking to me?
And my partner at the time, Neil, was in a circle of men, and someone said, who brought the darkie with them to the party?
Because I'll tell you, he said, it's, you know, if you were in a large city someplace, this job would be a perfectly okay thing for you, but you don't fit here.
The floodlight directly on me with a trigger-happy cop with his hand on his taser telling me to move or don't move.
That's because I'm just going to tell you, you just don't fit here. That was racism.
Every time there has been progress by black folks in particular, but I think the same could be said about any marginalized group, there has been a corresponding backlash, what Carol Anderson at Emory University in Atlanta calls white rage.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. At least one person is dead and several are injured tonight after protests and counter-protests turned violent in Charlottesville, Virginia. Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe declared a state of emergency.
It happened after slavery ended. It happened after segregation ended. It happened at the beginning of affirmative action programs.
We want our kids to grow up in a country where they have access to the best schools and the best teachers.
It happened during the Obama years. I mean, every single thing that seems to push people of color, particularly black folks, forward is responded to with this hateful, rage-filled reaction on the part of certain white people. The election of Barack Obama and the re-election in 2012, there were a number of people who were under the impression that we had attained some kind of post-raciality as a society, that, well, we've attained this spot, we're never going to go back to the sort of days of dog-whistling racism and appealing to racial resentment, and, you know, those days are over. And I think there were some of us who knew that this is very much embedded in the American political process. We have a system of racial inequity and white supremacy that we all sort of are part of, for good or for bad. And we're either responding to it and trying to challenge it, or we're part of it and we're collaborating with it. And one of the ways we collaborate with it is with our silence about just the day-to-day stuff.
Because it's not on our news every night, or we're not hearing about somebody doing something like that, I think it's easy for people to fall into this, oh, well, Tucson is a safe place. That doesn't happen here. And they just need to understand it does.
In July of 2016, I was sitting at my desk and I got a call from a reporter who was covering a story in Phoenix in court.
A wave of anti-Semitic vandalism and threats. Jewish centers, cemeteries, and schools are being targeted across the country, including right here in Arizona.
This individual was arrested for suspected terrorism.
March the 13th, 2017, there was some community members that had come to pray the early morning prayer, and they had noticed that the door was open, it had been broken in.
After weeks of sweeping vandalism against Jewish communities across the U.S., now another religious center is being targeted.
Over the weekend, a break-in and...
The place had been vandalized. There was copies of the Quran thrown everywhere, pages ripped out and scattered all over the floor. It's like your core values being, desecrated.
He had identified in open court that the Tucson JCC was an aspirational target of his. We have probably 17,000 people a week that come through our doors. People from 6 weeks old up to 106.
All the murders and homicides that have been attributed to terrorists in the last year were attributed to right-wing, white supremacist or white nationalist terrorists. There have been 40 to 50, last time I checked the numbers, folks who have been murdered by domestic right-wing white terrorists, but we don't even use that language for them. If I know Jim over in the HR department, then I have an in and a shot at the job. If I know Tom over in accounting, right, he's gonna write a letter, he's gonna put in a good word for me, and I've got a better shot at a job. And half the jobs are being filled that way. Well, in theory, that's not racist. In theory, that's not sexist. In theory, that's just, oh, no, it's an old boys network. The problem is that in practice, who are the people that Jim or Tom are more likely to know and therefore recommend, as opposed to the people they're less likely to know? And the research says they're more likely to know other guys like Jim and Tom. They're more likely to know other white dudes who went to the same colleges, who played the same sports, who were in the same fraternities, who do the same stuff. And they're not bad guys. Like Jim and Tom are fine. They're decent dudes, right? They're not racist or sexist in the sense that we would think of that word, but they are perpetuating a process of exclusion just by virtue of the way that they think about, oh, who'd be good for the next job here at my company or whatever it is, right? That's a form of racism.
Yeah, you're okay. All right. Tucson Second Chance Community Bail Fund, can I help you? It's people saying, speak English. It's people saying, we can't teach your cultural history. It's white women saying to brown women at the Women's March that you're only there to be decorations, but that your agendas and your communities are not being centered in our conversations. That's why we can have cops at this event and not concerned how that impacts you and how that looks for your community. A charge is nothing more than that. It's not a conviction. A person's presumed to be innocent. But even so, we know that black and brown kids get suspended, or criminalized and sent into juvenile courts more often. We know that our kids that people of color are stopped more often. We know that if you're a black person in Arizona and you're convicted of a drug offense, you're gonna get 50% more prison time than a white person convicted of that same offense. So it's the thing that's happening is as you pull off the facade of niceness and you start really seeing whose backs are being broken by the system.
Sharing when you're used to everything feels like oppression. It feels like the end of the world. When white folks, and particularly white men, are actually having to share space, whether that's politically, economically, culturally, or whatever else, with people of color, with LGBTQ folk, with women as women, with non-Christians, with working class folks, whatever it is, it seems like, oh my God, the wheels are coming off the bus. Like, you know, I'm not in the same position that I was. And that's true.
There's a certain amount of attack that they feel upon them. But here's the weird part. Whenever I ask them, how are you being attacked? They can never put their finger on it. I ask, you know, I feel censored by political correctness. Well, what happened? Did something happen in a class? Did someone call you out? Was there an intense, uncomfortable conversation that occurred? No, it's just a feeling that I have.
I always say we all live in fear. And the way I define fear is forever engaging in antiquated realities.
We're here at this moment, and if we can build a better future or a better environment for our community now, then we should do that.
Yeah, we want the government to do the right thing. We want the policies in place. We want the courts to do the right thing. But while we're waiting for them to do the right thing, or if they never do the right thing, what do? You have more power than you think, right? You're a member of a community. You might be a member of a church or a synagogue or a mosque or whatever. You might have kids in school or you might not, but you might have a job where you're working with other people every day. And so you're in these various locales where you have an opportunity to raise issues, to ask questions, to push for change.
This is not a time for status quo people. We need boldness. But boldness doesn't come from a community of complacency. So what I think the good thing that's happening in Tucson right now is that we are now starting to have this energy and this vision of what's possible. People are now saying, we can do better. What kind of world do you really want? What kind of world are you willing to fight for? Because this one is unfair, it's racist, it's destructive, it's oppressive, it's destroying lives, and we need to stop it.